You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, leave your comments below, and be sure to smash that like button. We will have a much better sense of the LSU baseball roster for 2026. That's because this weekend, starting on Sunday, incidentally in Atlanta. Last year, Media Days was in Dallas, and the MLB Draft was in Fort Worth. So they happen to be in the same place. This year, the MLB Draft is in Atlanta while we're there for SEC Media Days. Just a weird coincidence, I guess. But we're going to be keeping an eye on the current LSU Tigers, who we're expecting at some point to hear their name called or their phones ring to see if, in fact, they'll end up signing a professional contract and ending their college careers or returning to LSU. And there's, a handful of prospects, both pitchers and position players, that are fascinating. Jacob Myers is one that I think this is a no-brainer. At some point, his name will be called. He'll sign a professional contract. Zach Cowan is going to be an interesting one as well. He probably projects at the next level as, a setup guy, a three-out guy out of the bullpen. Does he come back, try to earn a starting spot at LSU? Maybe he comes back and becomes the closer. I don't know what Zach Cowan will do. I think that's an interesting one, just depending on what where his interests really lie. I mean, someone will call him and will make an offer to pick him. It's just a matter of if he takes it or if he comes back. But among the pitchers, the one that I think has the most interesting decision is Chase Shores. And I know you're probably going to roll your eyes and say, Matt, he's 6'8", he throws 100, he just blew up in the postseason, including Omaha. Every scout saw it, and he's going to get $2 million and he's going to sign. And you'd probably be right. That is very likely what is going to happen. Chase Shores is probably going to be a guy that goes somewhere in the compensatory round or early in round 2, and will probably make around $2 million, maybe a little north of that. But the most interesting part about Shores' decision is he could bet on himself. As you look at Chase Shores at the next level, his floor, I had this conversation while I was out with an NL scout who said, look, Chase Shores, his floor at the next level is a 7th, 8th inning setup guy. Basically what he was at LSU this year. That's his floor at the next level. Come out of the bullpen, throwing gas, throw your 90-mile-an-hour slider. Like, that's the basement expectation for a guy like this. The middle expectation would be he becomes a closer, right? And so now you're talking about a difference between making, 12 to 15 million a year as a setup guy to making potentially 20 million a year as a closer. And then maybe the ceiling would be he becomes a frontline starter. Because with his stuff, he's not a down-the-line starter in Major League Baseball. Like, he's not going to be somebody's fifth, number 4 or 5. He is a front-of-the-rotation talent. He throws 101 miles an hour. He's got a slider with a 20-inch horizontal break. I mean, it starts at the batter and ends up in the other batter's box, and it's 90 miles an hour. It's unfair. He develops one more pitch. He's Paul Skeens. I'm not saying he's going to be the best pitcher on the planet, develop all the moxie makeup, arm care, all the stuff that Skeens. My point is the stuff, the ability is what Paul Skeens is. And I got to command it and own it and all that sort of stuff. But that is a front-of-the-rotation type starter. Stuff, if it all develops for him. So, if you're Chase Shores, and because you had Tommy John, you have another year of leverage. He could come back and still have leverage. You come back to LSU as the Friday night guy, go dominate the SEC, and potentially be a top 5, top 10 pick next year, where your signing bonus jumps from maybe $2 million to 9, 10, 11 million? Or do you take the bird in hand with the $2 million likely that he's going to be offered this year and you go start your pro career? That's the decision Chase Shores has to make. My guess is he's going to take $2 million. He's going to sign a pro contract, and in very short order, he will be in a big league team's bullpen. Whoever drafts him, especially if that's a team that is contending, he is a guy that would very quickly, elevate and be in someone's bullpen to help them now if they're a contender. And then he'd spend the offseason and next year trying to become a starter in a farm system somewhere. So Shores, I think, has the most interesting decision to make. Among the position players, look, Tanner Reeves, I believe, is going to be back. He's going to be your starting second baseman next year. That's all the information I've gathered. Things could change during the draft. We'll see. But they are expecting Tanner Reeves to return and to be the starting second baseman. Chris Stanfield, they are expecting to be drafted and to sign, but there was this very similar situation to Michael Braswell a year ago, where they had anticipated Braswell getting drafted and signing. He went undrafted, and then they had a logjam because Milam was moving to the left side of the infield, and then you had Braswell, but you had brought in Tanner Reeves, and you had brought in Dickinson, and you were expecting Braswell not to be there. He was, and thank goodness he was, because he was fantastic for you defensively this year, but it created a logjam. Similar thing could happen with Stanfield next year, because the expectation, just like Milam was moving to short this year, Curiel's moving to center next year. So what happens with Stanfield is going to be fascinating. But the one really to keep an eye on is Ethan Frey. The expectation is that Ethan Frey is going to come back. I believe they have a very strong combo of rev share NIL money. I don't believe I know for Ethan Frey. And he's a guy that has a massive ceiling because he's 6'6", he's a great athlete, he hits for average and power. But the problem as a prospect for Ethan Frey is that there's no big league team that has seen him play a position. So until they see him play a position, it's hard to justify using a top-tier pick on a power-hitting right-handed bat because those are a dime a dozen. It's why Jared Jones is going to be a 4th, 5th-round guy. That's probably where Ethan Frey would project, somewhere around there. But if he comes back and plays left field and hits 320 bombs, now you're talking about a guy that might be a first-round pick next year. So Frey is going to be another interesting one to watch. Again, I think their expectation is he will be back, and if he is, he'll be your starting left fielder. Like I think if all goes according to plan, this is how the lineup would look next year. Aaron Beatty would catch. Some combination of Dardar, Cerna, Yaman would be the first base DH. Reeves at second, Milam at short, Braden Simpson, the transfer from High Point, at third. And then your outfield left to right would be Frey, Curiel, Brown. I think, again, long way to go, and it never ends how it starts. But I think that's how today, if you had to draw it up, how they think it would look, that's probably how it would look. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.